The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz Land, innovating ways to lead more Filipinos home. Okada Manila, where great stories begin. Shell, powering progress together. We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to
Great things take time to grow. When it comes to your family's future, it doesn't mean you should wait. Grow your future today. Aboitiz Land's residential lots are situated in master plan developments that put the community's well-being first. Designed with abundant open spaces, amenities that nurture family and friendships, and access to modern-day comforts. There's no better place to take root in and grow. With prices at its lowest and deals at their best. There's no better time to seize the opportunity. The time to grow your family's future is today. It's time to grow with Aboitiz Land.
Bawat Pilipino may sariling kwento. Pero ano man ang pinagdaraanan, isa lang ang gustong patunguhan. Isang Pilipinas na umuusad at umuunlad. Kaya kumikilos tayo. Di lang para sa sarili, kundi para sa lahat. Sa mahigit 100 taon, kasama ng Pilipino ang Shell sa pagpapaunlad ng ating bansa. Para sa future scientists at engineers, so they can keep creating sustainable solutions that move us forward. Para sa mga nagsisimula ng negosyo, so they can keep moving forward with businesses that do good. Para sa ating mga komunidad, so they can keep making lives better for their families and for our society. Para kahit sa mga sulok ng Pilipinas, we can keep moving forward with good energy. Marami pa tayong magagawa. Kaya sama-sama tayo. Let's keep moving the Philippines forward.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer. My name is Doris Dumlao Abadilla, Inquirer Business Features Editor, and with me is Ruel De Vera from Inquirer Lifestyle, who will be my co-moderator for this live stream event. The Philippine Daily Inquirer and its sister companies introduced this campaign last year, prompted by the desire to share, inspire, and empower Filipinos. Now, on its second year, we are leveling up and drilling down on key sectors that will be crucial to the Philippines' continued recovery from the twin public health and economic crisis brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. Let's watch this.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruel Estevera, and we will have an open Q&A segment later on. For our speakers to answer whatever burning questions you may have on what is on the horizon for tourism. So please do leave your questions or feedback in the comment section of the webinar's live stream or on the Project Rebound or the Inquirer.net pages. So Doris, we have a lot of great guests today, but before that, I think you have a little something special for our readers and our guests and our viewers to hear about.
Yeah. I, for one, Ruby, I'm very excited to travel again. And I wonder if you've made any plans to travel in the future, in the immediate future.
Oh, yes, I have a lot of things on my mind for going, especially locally. I think that this is the best time to think about where you'd like to go. And we can only look at the travel goals that other people have already started listing down with other parts of the country. So it's only right that we ask our guests today what's coming up for tourism in the country.
Yes. And before we introduce our guests, we would like to give an exclusive offer for our viewers. You can get a free 30-day trial of the Philippine Daily Inquirer's digital edition, Inquirer Plus. We are flashing the details on your screen so you can see how to get this free trial. You can also visit shopinquirer.com.ph to know more about Inquirer Plus.
We would also like to inform our viewers that your most trusted newspaper's digital version, Inquirer Plus, has a special promo for you. Get a huge discount on any of the annual plans of Inquirer Plus when you subscribe today. To avail of the promo, go to news/rebound promo and use the code Project Rebound. Now, Doris, it is time to introduce our esteemed guests for today's exciting session.
Our keynote speaker is Tourism Undersecretary Woodrow R.R. Makiling. Yusek R.R. is no stranger to the Philippine travel and tourism industry. He comes from a family of public servants in Dumaguete City. He debuted in government service as City Tourism Officer in Dumaguete City, where he carved out a name for himself for 6 years. In 2017, he joined the Office of the President, working as a staffer and then as Director of the Office of the Appointment Secretary, until President Duterte appointed him as Director 4 at the Department of Tourism in June 2019. After being designated as OIC Assistant Secretary in October 2021, he was appointed by the President as Undersecretary for Tourism Development Planning Sector and was assigned to head the Domestic Tourism Task Force. Good afternoon, Yusek RR.
Hi, Ma'am Doris. Good afternoon. Good afternoon also.
Good afternoon.
Can I happen?
Before we move on to our next speaker, go ahead, Yusek RR.
Oh, should we introduce all the speakers here?
No.
It's your turn.
Go ahead, please.
All right. Thank you so much. I'm supposed to already give my speech now on behalf of the Secretary. Hang on. I'd like to say hi to Sir Bob also. I think he's here. Of course.
Hi, hello, Yusek RR.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this invitation to be part of the Welcome Travelers, setting the stage for tourism boom as part of the PDI's advocacy campaign, Project Rebound, aimed at providing valuable information to help the economic recovery of the country. Before that, I'd like to acknowledge my fellow colleagues in the industry, of course, Sir Bob Zozobrado, who's live from Cebu, chairman of PATA, We also have our new DCOO for marketing and promotions of the Tourism Promotions Board. We have Charles Bautista, Sir David Rafael of appointees, and Sir Joel Palma. Good afternoon. On behalf of our Tourism Chief Secretary Bernadette Guamalupuyat, I have the honor to greet everyone present here virtually for taking the time to join this online forum where we can all seriously talk about the promising business prospects of travel and tourism in the post-COVID-19, or what we now call the new and better normal. I said promising because after almost 2 years in the dark, we are now back in the market again, so to speak, with international arrivals at, as of today, nearly 450,000 already, since we have reopened our borders last February 10. As one of the first countries in Asia to open its borders to international travel, with at least one of the most relaxed entry protocols, including quarantine-free entry, we have already seen many local destinations bounce back and are now bursting at seams. Businesses have reopened, people have worked again, and COVID cases, on the downturn, as I would describe it. We are slowly shifting from pandemic to spendemic mindset. First and foremost, the DOT aimed to implement people-centered recovery initiatives in response to the changing needs of the stakeholders and the markets as the world entered into the second year of the pandemic. The department spearheaded the updating of the tourism response and recovery plan, which focused on mitigating the impacts of the pandemic by delivering financial assistance programs to workers and businesses alike in need, while upscaling efforts towards the safe recovery of tourism markets. It is based on the principles of 3 C's: convergence, collaboration, and cooperation, with public and private sectors working hand in hand. In light of the pandemic, we had to take a really good look at the industry and reevaluated our strategies and targets we set for ourselves, as laid out in the country's tourism roadmap, the National Tourism Development Plan of 2016 to 2022. Building on the pivot to domestic tourism, the DOT worked tirelessly to nurture pride of place and bayanihan among Filipinos to restore the jobs and livelihoods of those who have been displaced by the pandemic. Despite the speed bump called Omicron, travel and tourism continued. People's desire to travel was one of the few bright spots for us. The growing demand for travel, particularly domestic, even during the pandemic, is highly evident in the Philippines and abroad. As revealed by the studies, consumers are willing to travel and spend during the pandemic for their own sanity. Their priority concern is safety, of course. At the same time, communities are plagued with fear from transmission of the disease by the visitors and by the tourism workers. Thus, the DOT work hard to address this fear among visitors, enterprise owners, and the host communities. Removing this fear is key to protecting the jobs of those who remain to be part of the industry and to restore the jobs lost during the pandemic, due to the pandemic. Since the start of the pandemic, tourism workers emerged as frontliners in the battle against COVID-19. The tourism chief strongly advocated for the inclusion of the tourism frontliners, especially those who continue to man ports of entry and those who serve at accommodation establishments that have been repurposed as quarantine facilities in the priority group. Today, every tourism worker in the country is fully vaccinated and mostly are boosted already. Thanks to the massive and robust drive of the department together with other agencies to inoculate everyone in the tourism value chain. But what really jump-started interest for domestic travel was when people started to see tourism establishments adopt the voluntary certification scheme called Safety Seal certification that affirms an establishment is compliant with the minimum public health standards set by the government and uses and integrates its contact tracing Stay Safe PH. The whole of government effort and whole of society coordination certainly built travel and consumer confidence anew, ensuring that health and safety of both tourists and tourism workers, host communities are given premium in the tourism recovery. The DOT, if I may share, had a travel survey in 2020 revealed high willingness for multi-destination travel, extended trips, and openness to integrate remote work and leisure or workation. The motivations of international travelers include boredom from quarantine, need to have fun, need to enjoy because life is short, or simply to make a cancel trips. The same survey highlighted the need to diversify and customize products and experiences. The diversification entailed featuring environmental and social and sustainability. This meant aiming for more open spaces, high value, low density, curated experiences, and low impact tourism. Customization and curation focus on addressing needs of specific market segments and creating value to the experience. To respond to these market trends and preferences, particularly domestic tourism, given the pivot to harness its potentials for tourism recovery, the DOT completed the validation and inspection of various tourist destinations. The key objectives were to ensure compliance to minimum public health and safety protocols, and to ensure the viability of offering attractions and destinations under the new normal. We took a good look at our existing tourism circuits and products and improved and recalibrated them, and even created new ones altogether. We undertook major development initiatives to improve products related to dive, health and wellness, food and culture, sun and beach, cruise education tourism, among many others. This saw 112 new and improved domestic tourism circuits nationwide. In fact, just recently, this month, we launched the Colors of Mindanao, which creatively package and curate Mindanao tourism destinations, delivering on a promise of a complete travel experience that is richer, deeper, more authentic, more competitive, and ultimately more Filipino. We also took the opportunity to provide capacity building training for tourism workers, such as tour guides and dive guides, in order to boost or enhance the competitiveness of our destinations. By going beyond making our sun and beaches our usual selling points to targeting new customers and new segments and expanding our market, we get to go back to our competitive track once more. And it is our hope that we all, bounce back together. Well, it is still a long way to go to reach the pre-pandemic numbers, but the forecast for the evolution in passenger numbers gives good reason to be optimistic. The International Air Travel Association, IATA, expects overall passengers to improve 83% this year, 94% next year, 103% in 2024, and 111% in 2025, with domestic passenger numbers expected to improve far better with 93% this year. Interestingly, domestic travelers who stayed in accommodation establishments reached 12.7 million in 2021. The strategic shift to domestic tourism during the first year of the pandemic paved the way for the growth of 26% in 2021. With this evidence-based DOT survey results of domestic markets travel behavior in the new normal, the domestic travel will lead to the recovery of the country's tourism industry, with Filipino travelers expecting to go to the destinations closer to home and spending amid lingering health concerns caused by the pandemic. These figures should give us enough prospects for travel and tourism. Today, we are seeing the results of all our hard work, both the public and the private sectors. The recently concluded 21st Global Summit of the World Travel and Tourism Council that the Philippines hosted in Manila gave us a glimpse of the rosy prospects for tourism recovery, positioning the country in the world tourism map as a top-of-mind destination, and affirms the role of the Philippines as a leader in the safe reopening of tourist destinations. The prestigious international organization WTTC had some fearless forecasts on Philippine tourism, which I'd like to share, that sees an average annual growth rate of 6.7% over the next 10 years, exceeding the expected country's overall economy average growth rate of 5.6%. In terms of tourism's intrinsic characteristic, the jobs it will generate, WTTC forecast is that the employment will grow annually by an average of 3% over the next 10 years, generating 2.9 million new jobs, accounting for 21.5% of all jobs in the Philippines. The fact remains that the tourism industry continues to be critically impacted by the COVID-19. The UN WTO experts provided recovery scenario by 2024, but the year 2022 or this year continues to be marked with relative uncertainties, while some parts of the world remain closed and prospects for tourism recovery is high. But one characteristic Filipino trait emerged almost instantly. The Bayanihan spirit prevailed and enabled the global support for these destinations. One thing is certain, that the tourism industry will rise up stronger this year. We are very bullish, in fact. Domestic tourism will continue to serve as our lifeline, while international markets are expected to exercise caution due to, the subvariants. The WTTC remained optimistic that the global travel will be back at 88%, and Asia Pacific will grow faster than other regions. In closing, I'm reminded of one author once said, life isn't about waiting for the storm to pass. It's about learning how to dance in the rain. And that's what we did throughout these years of the pandemic. We did not just sit down and frown waiting for this virus to come to pass. No. The DOT did not stop at COVID-19, together with other agencies in the private sector. And we will not stop in exploring possibilities for travel to resume with great vigor in the latter part of the year. The good news is domestic tourism is very much alive. It may rain and pour, and it may even, storm, but I am certain that our industry will time and again endure and keep going. However hard it may seem, whatever it may take, and however long a time it take for us to stand up, and we will always hold on to our belief that we will rise up again stronger as one industry. Thank you, and mabuhay everyone, and looking forward to this discussion later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek RR, for that very comprehensive overview of the tourism industry. Really look forward to this rosy projections becoming a reality. Before we move on to our next speaker, please be reminded that our speakers will attempt to answer questions you have on the future of tourism. So please do comment on this webinar's live stream on the Project Rebound or at the inquire.net pages.
Thank you, Yusek. Those were great shots. I can't wait to go to places like Bohol and all these other places. The photos just made me want to plan trips already. And now our next speaker is Joel Palma. A fisheries major from the University of the Philippines, Mr. Jose Angelito Joel M. Palma started his career organizing a community of fishermen in Laguna de Bay. Joel handled the Pawikan Conservation Project of the DENR. He joined WWF Philippines in 1997 as project manager for the Turtle Islands project in Tawi-Tawi. Joel was a fellow on governance and environmental democracy at Wolverhampton University in the United Kingdom prior to his appointment as Vice President for Conservation Programs. He provided organizational directions and strategic interventions for both national and regional programs, including being chair of the WWF's Coral Triangle Initiative. Joel was appointed CEO in 2015, tasked with expanding the organization's conservation impact while providing inclusive and sustainable benefits to communities.
Good afternoon, Joel.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for having me and inviting me. I'll just like to attest to what Yusek has mentioned that the local tourism industry is very much alive. You know, over the past 2 months, I had the chance to be in Donsol as well. In last weekend, I was in Anilao, and local tourists are everywhere, and I'm very glad that we're able to have that opportunity and to be part of it. And I also have seen the industry adapt. You know, in Anilao, it's all diving and snorkeling. But when I was there last weekend, they were already doing free diving. No, so nag-adapt na sila, and thank you. So in my presentation today, I think I'll go one step further because we're so happy and glad that we're able to be resilient and be able to conquer the past 2 years of a pandemic. And I think we're very successful given my experience the last 2 months going out in our tourist destination. But again, in the next 8 years, we have to deal with this and we have to deal with this now. So my short presentation is turning point for the planet towards a new sustainable, uh, uh, sustainable normal. So when we say 2030 has been the benchmark year, because we all know that scientists has mentioned, next slide, that mentioned that by 2030, if we are not able to address our environmental concerns, we might be into a situation wherein we are in a state of irreversibility. So welcome to the Anthropocene. This is where human activity has been controlling what's happening to our planet. Next slide. Where the economy, tourism meets the environment. You know, I say tourism because, correct me if I'm wrong, our tourist experts are here, Yusek and our colleague from PATA, that I think internationally and locally, almost 10% of the economy is actually coming from the tourism sector. So tourism is a very important part of our economic development. Next slide. So over the last 50 years, we've seen the great acceleration of population, GDP. Everything was going up, but at the same time, our natural resources and the base for all of these are going down. Next slide. I have 7 minutes. Everybody's so gung-ho about 2015, wherein we had the Paris Agreement, that we will try to limit the increase of temperature 1.5 degrees. 2015, after 7 years, the latest report is not a single country was able to adhere to its promise. So we're looking now at the increase of temperature of about 2 to 2.2 to 3 centigrade, and this might have quite a devastating impact. Just lately, last week, I saw in the news that the biggest reef system in the world, coral reef system in the world, the Great Barrier Reef, was bleached. 90% of that, almost 2,000, 3,000 kilometers of reef. In fact, that reef system is so big that you can see it from the naked eye from the moon. So 90% has been bleached. And in the Philippines, marine diving has been one of the major attractions. At least we had reports that Tubata is still doing good in other parts of the country. Anilao, I dove last weekend, is still doing good. So, but the increase in temperature will have a quite devastating effect. So our oceans ecosystems are on the decline, species and terrestrial ecosystems as well. So we need to do something about climate change. Next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Hello? You hear me? Hello? Hi. Where's the slide? Okay. Na-disconnect daw. We all know that about 8 million metric tons of plastic is dumped into the sea. And the Philippines ranks third in terms of plastic pollution. So I'll just look at my presentation in my phone so I can be guided. Just a minute. And you know, this is quite the impacts to human health has been just confirmed that, you know, even to our bloodstreams, scientists were able to find molecules of plastics, because, you know, it takes about 8 minutes to consume one bottle of, you know, plastic bottled water, while it takes about 400 years before it degrades. No? So it just disintegrate into microplastic, and this is what sort of we have been ingesting as we eat and as we drink water. So we have to do something about it. And of course, coming from the marine side, it really doesn't help if you're going diving, if you're snorkeling, if you have a big patch of plastic going around. Next, my other slide is food waste. No, roughly 1/3 of the food that's produced is wasted. And I'm very glad, Yusek, that in my former organization, I stepped down as CEO with the in 2021. We've been working with DOT on food waste with hotels, and quite interesting that with proper training, hotels and restaurants was able to reduce their food waste, and through this project called Sustainable Diner, and this is in collaboration with you. The other slide is marine resources. We all know that one of the major attributes or to go to destinations are diving, and we've seen quite about 30% of Philippine coral resources was lost in the past 20 years because of bleaching. And so goes with forests. No, so at the end of the day, we need to rebound for a sustainable new normal. I'm very happy that we're back, and as Yusek has mentioned, the local tourist is pump priming this recovery. But we need to look forward and make sure that our operations for tourism facilities are made more sustainable. You know, I'm sure later we have speakers from tourism organizations as well as developers that they're into sustainability, efficiency, as well as adaptation, because this is very important, because we all know that the Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries to extreme climate events. So we just need to look forward. And I'm quoting from the Sustainable Development paradigm of the World UN World Tourism Organization, and I like to quote that tourism that takes full account of its current and future economies, social and environmental impacts, addressing the needs of the visitors, the industry, the environment, and the host community. So let's make our rebound more sustainable, because the environment, climate change, and its impact is something that we have to address so that our industry can be more resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel, for sharing that with us. I think that uh, biodiversity is a very important part of the attraction of the Philippines. It's not just the beaches. I like what you said about people now uh, free diving, not just snorkeling. It's good to know that Tubataha is doing better. I myself am a little intimidated by the idea of going to Donsol and swimming with the whale sharks, but I would love to go back to Dumaguete, and I would love to see Bohol and its biodiversity. Doris, where would you like to go?
Well, this weekend we'll go to Puerto Galera and
Whoa!
Anilao. Although
Kanilaw.
I'm not a diver myself, but well, I can snorkel.
So at least you have that. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
I'm just gonna stay on the land for now and stare at the animals. Okay. In this discussion, we will hear from our panelists about their reactions to Yusek Woodrow's keynote, as well as their insights about setting the stage for the tourism boom. Okay.
Our first panelist is the chairperson of Pacific Asia Travel Association, Roberto Bob Zozobrado. Uh, Bob, yeah. Bob's work experience spans all components of the tourism industry, starting as a tour desk clerk at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, California, then as account manager for Pan Am. Bob became director of sales of Hyatt Regency Manila and later as general manager for Thomas Cook. He moved further up the ladder as the managing director for Thai Airways GSA and then as country manager of Northwest Airlines GSA for the Philippines and Micronesia. He taught tourism subjects in various schools, and he was recently re-elected to another 2-year term as chair of the Philippines chapter of the Pacific Asia Travel Association. He has received countless travel industry awards as well as teaching excellence awards. Hello, Bob.
Hi there. Hello. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for including me in this very prestigious event. And we at the Pacific Asia Travel Association are always very excited when we come across with events like this one, because they highlight even further the importance of the tourism industry in our country's economy. And I'm really looking forward to a very interesting discussion this afternoon, especially because we have such an erudite panel of guest speakers that we have today. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Did you want me to make some comments about the presentation of USEC RR, or that comes later?
Yeah, we can do it later.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Bob. Our next panelist is Mr. Charles Bautista. Charles Bautista is the current Deputy Chief Operator for Marketing and Promotions for the Tourism Promotions Board. Prior to joining TPB, he was the department manager for communications and creative services of the Center for International Trade Expositions and Missions, or CITEM. He spent the last 14 years as a marketing, public relations, and business development executive in various industries, including e-commerce, tech, pharmaceuticals, his hospitality, advertising, media, and government. Wow, ang dami. While working, he finished his law degree at the Arellano University School of Law. He is also professionally certified and trained in the fields of digital marketing, basic intelligence investigation, leadership development, change management, and data analysis. Hello, Charles.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me in this amazing panel with some of the top people that I've looked up to for a while. And I'm really excited to talk more about where tourism is headed. The Tourism Promotions Board is very excited to share with the world the different opportunities that lie with the Philippines. More especially now that we just recently concluded the World Travel and Tourism Council Global Summit, where I think just to add some good news to what Yusek RR shared earlier, is that we just got a report that in our UK office of the DOT Tourism Attaché shared that for the UK market in particular, when they are looking at a travel destination now for their upcoming summer, the Philippines is the #1 Asian destination that they're looking at. So that's one really good indicator that WTTC1 was a success, and we're really doing a good job in promoting the Philippines in the European market. So we are really looking forward to more opportunities with our international and domestic travelers to explore the different destinations we've reopened since the start of the year.
Thank you, Charles. Our next panelist is Mr. David Rafael. He is a respected real estate industry veteran who brings with him 33 years of extensive experience in the residential, industrial, and commercial segments. Over the course of his career, he has held various leadership positions in some of the most well-regarded and successful real estate companies in the Philippines and abroad. Joining Aboitiz Land as the president and CEO in 2019, he is at the forefront of the company's digital transformation journey with innovations focused on improving customer service and experience while embodying Aboitiz Land's promise of creating better ways to live. He holds an MBA from the Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia in the US and a bachelor's degree in philosophy from the Ateneo de Manila. Welcome, Sir David.
Good day, everyone. People have not been traveling for the past 2 years, so they have decided to invest in homes outside of the metro. Just as tourism anticipates a rebound in 2022, let me share with you how real estate has rebounded amidst a pandemic. Today, we will be zeroing in on agility and innovation, two of the most critical values that drive Aboitiz Land to its thriving business today. I'm David Rafael, President and CEO of Aboitiz Land. Thus, allow me to take you through how our team was able to successfully maneuver our way out of the unforeseen disruptions brought about by the health crisis. But before anything else, I would like to give you a background about Aboitiz Land. Built on more than 25 solid years of real estate experience, Aboitiz Land is the residential property arm of the Aboitiz Group, one of the country's oldest and best managed conglomerates. Aboitiz Land has completed 10 legacy communities in Cebu and is currently developing 4 horizontal projects across Cebu and 5 across Luzon. To quickly introduce our master plan developments in Luzon, we begin with Seafront Residences. Seafront Residences is an award-winning beach community in Batangas that promotes sustainability through its walkable design. With Seafront Residences, your primary home is also your vacation home. Next, we have the Villages at Lipa, a project located at Lima Estate, an Aboitiz-owned integrated community economic center that lets you enjoy suburban lifestyle without missing city conveniences. Next, Ahoya is Aboitiz Land's mid-market line of master plan communities. They are strategically located in Pampanga, Tarlac, and Nueva Ecija in Central Zone, an area that will soon be the center of much economic and business activity in the near future. As the community quarantines are eased, the real estate landscape is now bound for a rebound, according to Collier's Philippines Property Outlook 2022. We have seen new trends in real estate emerge as a result of the pandemic. The pandemic highlighted the importance of having amenities close to home. With travel restrictions, homeowners saw the need for bigger living spaces, quality amenities, safety and security, even leisure features, including green belts and parks for mental and physical health. It is worth noting that houses and lots and residential lot projects have captured great interest, as preferences for the living setup has made horizontal development a new favorite for people that want amenities accessible daily. Supported with a boom of infrastructure development built by the government, it is now more possible to live in new progressive cities outside of the metro without compromising comfort and convenience. As the infrastructure continues to flourish, so will local tourism, and Aboitiz Land will be present to provide housing should tourists decide to settle in these areas. The hybrid or phygital, that is physical and digital, mode has influenced how we do things, work, study, business. The greatest lesson that we have learned through recovery is that agility and innovation moved organizations to quickly adapt and effectively execute at an accelerated speed as necessary. Just a month after lockdown, we have managed to quickly and completely pivot to digital selling. Through technology, we provide our vecinos an enjoyable home buying experience, from property search all the way to turnover through our contactless home buying service. It empowers our buyers to continuously enjoy their home buying journey through a convenient, safer, and worry-free process. Vecino, a Spanish word for neighbor, is Aboitiz Land's term of endearment to its homeowners. We have also invested in proprietary mobile application called Aboitiz Land Vecino app to help track payments and purchase progress and services more efficiently and more conveniently. Our contactless home buying service and Aboitiz Land Vecino app continuously grow as the digital means of conducting business becomes a staple across industries. Aboitiz Land has also ventured into strategic alliances with digital corporations to streamline back-end operations and provide clients with more flexible options. These include Acquire, is a platform that provides more options for online payments. Nook, a fully digital platform that helps aspiring home buyers to be matched with the right home loan programs in minutes at no extra cost. And Conovate, for the supply of Danish concrete precast panel technology that provides more durable and sustainable houses and shortens the house construction period into half. The innovation risks that we took have been paying off. Aboitiz Land sales continue to perform strongly, closing 2021 with 4.6 billion pesos worth of sales, a 64% increase from 2020. 2022 is poised to bring in the best sales performance historically at 4.7 billion pesos. Buoyed by 2021's record-breaking performance and an economy bound for a rebound, Aboitiz Land looks forward to the market's confidence in spending for homes outside of the city, supporting local tourism's rebound as well. In summary, Aboitiz deeply embedded value of agility and innovation pushes our organization forward during times of uncertainty. Cultivating an innovative mindset accelerated and propelled our continuing digital and organizational transformation. Capitalizing on shifting markets and being in tune with the changing needs and concerns of our customer. These are the key to not only surviving, but rebounding from a pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, David, for sharing your insight on Aboitiz Land and how the Filipinos have been reacting from a infrastructure, I guess, construction aspect of it. Doris, David was talking about how people have been investing more in housing and these things, and I do see these things. I guess there are still people who are hesitant to get out there, but in his keynote, Yusek Woodrow talked about how the Filipinos have also begun moving out of their comfort zone after being cooped up for so long. And even though Metro Manila is still in alert level 1, we have seen, as Woodrow has said, an increase in the number of people willing and practically chomping at the bit to get out there and visit the other parts of the country. And Dave, also the country is ready to welcome them to the other parts, and for the Filipinos themselves to rediscover the country after being indoors for so long. We'd like to ask the speakers what you think about the idea that the Filipinos are now ready to get back out there. Let's start with Bob. What do you think about the idea that the Filipinos are ready to rediscover local tourism?
Well, I actually took down notes when Yusek RR made a presentation. And I have to say that Yusek RR made a complete presentation. He always gives one anyway. And it's everything that he said is actually what's brewing in the tourism industry these days. And I like what he said about the transition from pandemic to spendemic, because later on in our discussion, I'd like to talk about revenge travel. And that's what spendemic is all about, you know. And I also took note of what Yusek RR mentioned about the new and improved 112 tourism circuits in the Philippines, because tourism stakeholders in the country, especially after the pandemic, they now are aware that they have to redesign and redefine what they are offering because of the changes that the pandemic brought, the changes in the travel style, the changes in the travel preferences. So travel agents and tour operators in the country will now have to redesign and redefine what they have to offer to tourists. And I'm glad that the Yusek RR mentioned the 112 new tourism circuits that are being offered right now and developed by the Department of Tourism. And lastly, he mentioned about fear that is still in the minds of travelers. And I have to say, I agree with that, because the pandemic has instilled some degree of fear. In others, it could be greater. In others, not that much, but there's still the element of fear. In fact, there was a PR company in London that made a survey. What happens if the virus is completely eradicated? Will you want and go ahead with all your travel plans? And you know what? 25% of those surveys said no, they will still stay home and watch out and observe and see if everything will go on as planned. So there's still that element of fear. So for all of you listening now, Filipinos, that I want to encourage you to go out and travel and don't worry about anything. Let me give you a very nice quote. And I'd like to repeat this quote for all of you. It says, everything that you want in life is on the other side of fear. So that's all you have to do. Just remember, everything you need, everything you want, just hurdle that fear, and you'll enjoy life to the fullest. That's all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. See you, Sec, how thought-provoking your keynote speech was.
Yes.
I've heard revenge travel before, but pandemic is new to me, so I like that. Charles, would you like to chime in on this?
Yes, just adding on what was already said. I think in terms of Filipinos, specifically on being more open to traveling, we are seeing a lot of demand from the Filipino and the domestic market in terms of really exploring the Philippines. But one particular behavior that we're seeing is that they're no longer as interested in the usual products that we offer and the usual destinations, but they are looking in more curated and more exclusive destinations. So you'll see that because the spending power is a lot more collectively with families, you'll see a lot more families renting out an entire resort for their families, bringing their extended families along. You'll see more interest in destinations that are available or are accessible by road. We are really ramping up our motorcycle tourism circuits across the different provinces, and we're seeing strong feedback across the different regions in terms of the motorcycle tourism programs that we're doing across the different provinces. And I think in terms of getting over the fear of COVID is that one thing that we keep on saying in the Tourism Promotions Board is that there's no such thing as, well, at least for now, the science says that there's no such thing as a post-COVID era, but rather a post-pandemic era. COVID will most probably stay with us until the future. But what we must do is that we should stop fearing the disease, but rather respect it. So what that means is being able to live with the virus, being able to really comply with health and safety protocols when we travel, being more aware with our health, and being just being better advocates of a healthy lifestyle, and making sure that when we travel responsibly. So those things are very important measures for us to be able to control the spread of COVID-19, and most especially get yourself vaccinated, get yourself boosted, so that your health is always optimal when you're traveling in different destinations, whether here or abroad.
Thank you, Charles. I really like the idea of being off the beaten track, but on the road, which is kind of like what you said, people looking for different experiences. And I also think that there's this interesting thing about how when people find out that other people are now traveling, they're sort of getting jealous now that people are traveling. And it's like, I want to travel too. And they start thinking about that. Let's go to Joel. Joel, what did you think about the points that Yusek made earlier in his keynote?
Well, yes, I totally agree that I think that the thing that will pump prime recovery is local. And I've witnessed it twice. When I was in Dol Sol, no rooms, totally booked. And that was only April 10. That was the 10th day of when Donsol opened. No? So people will be getting in. And I see, and I also agree that using the road is better, because even going to Donsol, we drove rather than rode the plane, uh, for obvious reasons. So these are factors, and I think it's really good for the Philippines to have local tourists as well. Although we welcome as a start as we go into this transition. So everybody just would like to go out, breathe, and be in the water, open sea, and take out their masks. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you. Thank
Joel.
you.
I like that idea about people being like out and they're just wanting to see something beyond their walls. David, would you like to join us?
I want to share a personal experience about this, what the USEC mentioned about really traveling for just to save your own sanity. Actually, I did that last January, and I got infected. I got Omicron, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I didn't mind at all, you know. But even if I got infected, but really, I think traveling is just getting out of your house is it's a basic need, of a human being. It's like breathing air, But anyway, but relating it to real estate, to our experience with this whole pandemic. For me, I'd like to bring up 2 points lang, no. First, which is relative to what I presented a while ago. No? We really believe that with this pandemic, the mindset of people in terms of their home buying preference has really changed, right? Work from home, I believe, is going to be a permanent phenomenon. It's not going to be temporary. I think it's going to stay with us forever. And so because of that, I think people now will no longer feel compelled to, find a home in near city, buying these small condos for 6-7 million, all because they want to be in the city near their home, avoid the hassles of travel. Right? With work from home, it's now possible for them to live outside the city, in Pampanga, in nearby emerging cities, which is of course enabled by all of the available infrastructure. So they still get to work, they're still productive, but at the same time, their quality of life with their families has really, really greatly improved. And I think that's going to be the way real estate is going to be happening going forward. That's one. The second point I'd like to make is, one of the most, I would say, groundbreaking legislation of the Duterte administration, which was passed just recently, was the passage of the Public Service Act, which opened up other industries to foreign ownership. Now, what I'm hoping is that perhaps with this move in the next administration, it will go further and maybe open up ownership of land to foreigners. Now, if that happens, I think that it'll be a great boost to tourism. Be a great boost because now these tourists will not only think of coming here to spend just for leisure, but to actually live here for good and make a living here. And I think that will be very beneficial for investment and all that. That'll be a very welcome development. And I'm hoping that, in this new administration, it will go further in relaxing other areas of the economy to foreign ownership. Thanks.
Yeah, we're one of the few countries in the world with restrictions, with such foreign ownership restrictions, no, sir. However, it's a very contentious issue, no? We're very mixed view on this aspect. Anyway, coming back to our keynote, I'd like to ask Yusek RR, kasi during the pandemic, you've mentioned that we have been among the first to open our borders, ease travel restrictions, welcome foreigners. But in terms of harmonization of regulations, different destination areas, kasi it depends on the LGUs, right? How far are we when it comes to harmonization of requirements for travelers like us? Kasi di ba, when you go to Boracay, it's different. Go to Cebu, maybe it's different. How far are we from harmonization?
Thank you. I know where you're coming from. I think we got a lot of the same concerns also, especially
Yeah.
because we are constrained, the national government or the DOT, in fact, because of the local government code of 1991, which restrictions and positions of such are really levied to the local government units within the area of jurisdiction. But this has been the battle cry of the Secretary Bernard Robalupuyat over the past year, to really push for a synchronized one, if not synchronized, then more aligned one with the national government. Because that's correct. When you go to a certain area, you're able to pass, but when you go further to like if you pass by La Union, then you want to go to Ilocos, then there are a lot of restrictions. But that has really been a constant problem in the past. Good thing that more and more LGUs are open-minded. This year, we can see that travel domestically has been more smoother this time around, and I think that's relatively because more are there's lesser fear from all of this, from the pandemic caused by COVID-19, and more confident. More confident that with the booster shots. That's why, in fact, the secretary really brought a lot of vaccines to the islands. In fact, if you're a foreigner, then you're not yet vaccinated. You just go to Boracay Island. If you want to go there, upon arrival, you get vaccinated. So we went around the country to Cebu, to major destinations, and now lesser destinations also, less known destinations, to really get themselves not just vaccinated, but boosted. But that has been always coordinated with the Department of Local Government. In fact, si Secretary Anyo works closely with Sec Bernard to really, like, for instance, aside from there's the travel restrictions from different LGUs. One concern is the carrying capacity. So we have talking about sustainability from Sir Joel, and it's very crucial, the carrying capacity of certain islands in the country. So we have to be very conscious on the carrying capacity. For instance, Boracay, for one time, it reached more than the carrying capacity. So we in the DOT would want to really push for first responsible tourism and of course sustainability in everything we do, especially as we reopen. In fact, Secretary worked very closely with the DILG to really impose such restriction or cap to our destinations. It's very important that we cannot go back. I think I've seen it in your primer earlier, the video, that are we going back to a tourist-filled destination? But I don't think we can. I understand we have to have all these tourists for money for them to spend and for us to have all to generate income, to generate employment, all of these things. But we have to be more conscious and more better this time around. And I think this has never happened in the past, that the different agencies in the government work and talk to each other like every day now as compared to the past. So some silver lining to this pandemic, the different government agencies really talk to each other now more than because of the IATF and stuff like that. But yes, it's a constant struggle, but I think we have greatly improved already with our restrictions and mobility within and from different local destinations in the country.
That's good. And maybe Charles can add to that.
Just to add to what Yusek said, we are actually very much close to harmonization. If you're going to look at a lot of the destinations that you're going to visit in the Philippines, the requirements are basically the same. It's your vaccination card, and if you're not vaccinated, it's your RT-PCR test 48 hours before, or an antigen test 24 hours before, and the health declaration form. So generally in most, if not all, destinations in the Philippines are already adopting these particular requirements. I think moving forward, what we are doing in the Tourism Promotions Board is to facilitate this particular transaction in a more seamless manner, so that when you do travel in different destinations, you don't have to keep on filling out forms, you don't have to keep on resubmitting your documents. So working with the Department of Tourism, the Tourism Promotions Board, the local government units, Department of Health, Department of Interior and Local Government, we want to make sure that when we're digitizing these particular processes, we're able to make sure we tick all the boxes. Because as much as we want to make it seamless for tourists, we also want to make sure it's compliant with international standards for health. It's also something that the local government is also comfortable with. But again, in terms of harmonization, I think we're about 80% there, if not more.
That's good. That's good. Rui, you're on mute.
All right. So I just wanted to ask Joel, how bad did it really get? I mean, from a fiscal perspective during the 2 years of the pandemic. I mean, for the tourism sector.
Well, when I went to Donsol, that's my first trip not working to Donsol. So I had the chance to really interview the Butanding interaction officers, the boat guides. It's really hard because, like, if you have a boat for whale shark interaction, bangka, for 2 years it did not run. So most of them were basically nasira, and their investments were really, nahirapan sila. And then down the line, like even today, in pre-pandemic, it's easy to rent the masks, fins, and snorkel, but now you cannot rent it out because of safety protocols. So these are the things that people adjust to, but they're just so happy and so excited that that was the 10th day when Donsol opened, when I went there, that things are starting up. And last weekend I was in Anilao, a friend who owns a small resort. They were really down for the last 2 years, and they're just picking up. And he also stays there with the family, stays in Anilao already. So as a requirement, not even the LGU, we do antigen tests before entering the resort. But still, there's this caution, but everybody's really very, very optimistic about how we can slowly recover. As said by Charles, that we won't actually do away with COVID, but we have to respect the pandemic and how to.
Okay. Just a couple of questions here. I just really want to know, right now, what? This is probably a good question. For Charles and Yusek, what are the most popular tourist destinations and activities right now?
Well, we still have, yeah. Well, I think with the overcrowding there in Boracay right now, I think that's still really popular right now. Imagine Cebu Pacific, they have 16 flights a day. Before pre-pandemic, they only have seven flights daily, but now it's 16 flights. Like every 30 minutes, there's like flight going to Katiklan. So basically, that's Baguio also, and in the north we have the La Union and Ilocos area. And in the south, of course, Calabarzon continues to be really strong, especially Rizal now with more open spaces. Based on the survey, they love open spaces, and so I think they're really good. They're picking up also, and we have in Central Luzon, it's picking up also, especially in Pampanga and in Bataan and Subic. There's a lot going to Subic right now. Charles, would you want to add based on the request for free or because we used to be...
for for the tourists that are because the Department of Tourism, the Tourism Promotions Board, offers RT-PCR testing for qualified tourists. So a lot of the people who are interested in traveling are really more focused on, again, as I mentioned, the nearby destinations that are accessible by car. So as mentioned by USEC, so that's Central Luzon, people going to Ilocos, people going to La Union, which has become a creative destination or hub for creatives. That's near the metro. Baguio is still very popular. And for those who are flying, the islands that they are looking at is really the usual destination still. So Boracay is still popular, Cebu, Bohol, Iloilo. But one interesting thing that we are seeing, as I mentioned, is that there are more people interested in lesser known destinations. So we are seeing people who are interested in visiting Camiguin, for example, and looking at the different falls that we have there, like Asik-Asik Falls, which looks like a scene from Avatar, the movie. Or people who are more interested now in visiting Antique and Siquijor, where it used to be just a destination as from Regal Films, right? But now it's more popular with beach enthusiasts and people who are looking at cultural heritage sites. So there are a lot of these destinations that are picking up popularity because of their virgin beaches, their untouched cultural immersions or experiences that's very authentic to who the province is. So those are the things that I think are really pushing these newer destinations. And also more to Sir Joel's point on sustainability, because we have a lot more discerning and more conscious, sustainability conscious tourists that are coming in the country. They are looking at eco sites, ecological sites that are really showcasing the best of what the Philippines has to offer in terms of its natural resources, and especially with our diving and spelunking experiences. So those are the things that are really gaining popularity in terms of tourist demand.
I'd like to pick up on that point on going to off the beaten path and being more mindful of the environment when you travel. I think we ran a story about the rise of the enlightened traveler, which was based on a study made by Airbnb. So do you think, guys, that more and more travelers would be willing to pay a higher price for sustainability for our travelers? Maybe Joel, you can start.
Yeah, I think it's there already. Just an example would be Tobataha. It's all even more. The reef is like 100 nautical miles right in the center of Sulu Sea, and this is the first year that they opened, and I heard that dive boats are fully booked. Although at one point I think Palawan was a bit strict than other islands. So, but then again, when they opened, basically a lot of people would really look into that, and not just for locals, but more also for the international market. Like in Donsol pre-pandemic, I think the data for Donsol is that it's like almost half foreign, half locals. There was a certain point in time in the earlier stages of Donsol, there were more foreign tourists, like into 2005. And it was not as popular before. So, of course, there's a great market for that, even with the premium.
Bob, would you like to?
Yes, because the travelers these days, they just don't want to pay for services. What they want, they want to pay for a unique experience. And I was very surprised. I was at Pico de Loro the other day, and I was surprised that they offer mangrove tours. And so I said to myself, I said, who'd be interested in that? But they said, no, every day they have guests lining up to join the mangrove tours. And, and it's very, so I tried it. I tried it myself, and definitely it was such a unique experience. I mean, looking at all those mounds on the where you pass, where the crabs get in and stay, and it's very interesting. I found it very interesting. So all these things are now popular with tourists because they have now diverted their attention to something visual, from something visual now to something more that they can experience emotionally, physically, and so they'll pay for that.
Sir David, you're a property developer and also with a focus on sustainability. So, are you seeing more and more demand for sustainable products?
Yeah. Okay. So, I think the issue of sustainability, climate change. I think no doubt it's gotten wider awareness. I think the problem of before, I mean, it was very abstract, but now I think when you talk climate change, when you talk sustainability, it's really become a very real issue, and it's not just in property, but in every industry. Every industry is thinking about sustainability, but of course, really the issue really is really the cost, the cost. How do you transition to a world, an economy, a situation, and whether it be in tourism, whether it be property, whether it be in power, how do you transition to a cleaner, greener environment? It's I think there's still a struggle. No, there's still, to be real about it. I think there's still a lot of struggle in trying to really figure out how to be sustainable and how to address this climate change in a long-term sustainable fashion, because there are costs. There are costs in this transition to a cleaner environment, and I think that these costs have not been fully. It's not yet been fully appreciated and accepted.
Yeah.
I want to ask, and this one is for everybody, but I want to start with Yusek and Charles. We've talked about the new things we've discovered, but what pre-pandemic destinations and activities that they've not been able to do or go to do you think are going to make a comeback? Because David just said that he left his house and got COVID and it was worth it just getting out of the house. So I am curious what everybody thinks we were doing before COVID that we were not able to do from a tourism point of view that you think is going to make a comeback. Can we start with you, Zach?
Yeah, thank you. Well, my answer for this will be related to the previous question also. There's one wellness farm in Calabarzon which actually earned more in 2021 as compared to pre-pandemic days. So because people are really into farms, open spaces right now, and in connection with your question right now, we have all these farm tourism concepts in the past already pre-pandemic, but somehow we neglect it. I mean, it's not being prioritized. But right now, that's really the fashion right now in terms of destinations. In fact, right now the secretary is now in Bacolod in Negros Occidental because we're developing the sugar trail circuit. See all these haciendas and all this, because these are the things that really attract attention right now, and it has been there in the past, but we never look at it in this manner. We never look at it in this fashion that it can actually be very, very, you know, profitable. In fact, all these farms. So I think that's why we're really focused in with the creation, with our updating of the successor plan of the National Tourism Development Plan 2022 to 2028. Farm tourism will be very, very crucial in pivoting our industry to recovery. It has a great deal of attention. In fact, we're putting up more and more products that we will strengthen. One is the medical tourism. It has been a low-hanging product, but we have not reaped and optimized its profitability for our country. And that's why right now, the focus will also be enhancing the retirement. We have this Philippine Retirement Authority, and we have this retirement visa, but they're just focused on retirement visa. So that's why right now, I just had a meeting yesterday with PRA, representing the secretary. I chair the board, and we're repackaging retirement, not just purely visa, not just purely come here, but we are repackaging it and recalibrating it to include medical tourism. Of course, the foreign tourist who would want to reside here would always look after his health and safety, etc. So medical tourism and retirement will come a long way, and some retirees would want to come here with their families. So education tourism is very critical. So all of this farm tourism, medical tourism, retirement destination, and of course the education tourism will play a very crucial role as we move forward in the coming years.
Charles, what do you think pre-pandemic activities will be, or destinations will be picked up again?
Yeah, in terms of, I think my answer would be more closely related to the behavior of our tourists. As mentioned earlier by Sir Bob about revenge tourism, because one thing about the entire concept of revenge tourism is that, or at least the concept of revenge, is that it's motivated by getting back at something that was deprived of you. So the reason why you want revenge is because you feel like you were deprived of your right or your particular property. So in that sense, because people back then, before the pandemic, were so used to open spaces. So we are seeing a lot more people visiting open spaces, whether it's a beach, the farm, if you're looking at the hiking, different mountain trails. So going back to nature and open spaces is one behavior that we're seeing. The second is human interaction. So because pre-pandemic, people were very, very social, and they loved having gatherings. Of course, now it's a bit more limited because people are still worried about large crowds. I remember during WTTC, a lot of the delegates were talking during the gala dinner, and one of the things we were discussing was that before we used to be so comfortable and so social that it was, when you sat down on the table, it was so easy to converse and really connect with people. But now, because we were wearing masks and it was so different. And I think that's a second behavior that we're seeing. People are becoming more social because they were deprived of, human connection for the past 2 years. It was always Zoom. And I think a third behavior that we're seeing is that people are really looking to experiencing food. One thing that connects a lot of our tourism sites is really experiencing the different culinary offerings that different destinations have. And because people for the past year, or for the past year and a half, or for the past 2 years, have been stuck with fast food or whatever was available within their area, their behavior now is looking more into different culinary experiences that's available whenever they're going on the different trips. I remember about 2 months ago, I visited Boracay, and everyone was in line for the longa burger because it's such a popular staple when you visit Boracay, that because people were starting to finally visit Boracay, it was one of the things that they missed. So those are, I think, the top three behaviors that we're seeing with our tourists.
Joel, what do you think is gonna come back?
Um, as mentioned, now more on the accessibility is one issue. So for the south, even by road, when I was traveling by road to Bicol, to Donsol and Legazpi, um, I see a lot of motorcycles, even scooters, going back to their hometown, and that's like a 12-hour ride. So yes, I think as mentioned, there were new things like more on wellness, open space. I think that will be the name of the game, just to be out there. I remember we went to Baguio in 2021 February, so you have still to get those tested. But it was one of my best trips to Baguio because there were not much people. So there was no traffic. Yeah, but with the infrastructure right now, as mentioned, things will really flow. Um, I don't have the data, but in my experience in the three places where I've been to lately, including Baguio, they're full. In Donsol, we had to transfer to two resorts because on the third day, we have to transfer to the other one because they're fully booked already. So in Anilao, because of the free divers, it was hard to snorkel because there were a lot of people at sea last Sunday, and that's a big surprise. So, and that's good, and I'm very happy that things are really. I don't see much difference from pre-pandemic, at least in the places I've been to. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, what about you? You're muted. Sorry, Bob.
Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Farm tourism is on the upswing, and it has been available since way before the pandemic, but not too many people paid attention to it. Only the only people I knew who were really into promoting farm tourism was Senator Cynthia Villar, and also former Tourism Secretary Mina Gabor, because she even has a school in for sustainable tourism. But now people are into farm tourism. They're very interested. In fact, I just booked a group of elderly, retired people who are planning to go on a tour to a farm in Batangas because they want to be able to experience, as I mentioned earlier before, they want a unique experience. People these days want to have something unique. And so these group of people want to go to the farm and be able to pick the fruits themselves and eat and whatever they can do in the farm. So all these things are coming up, things that used to be just taken for granted. Nobody paid too much attention to it, but now they are looking at it.
Thank you, David.
I will cite two trends in post-pandemic trends related to property. I think number one change that we're going to see is, as I mentioned earlier, I think the preference of people in terms of property because of the pandemic. I think we have a term for it. We call it rurbanization, rural urbanization. In other words, people are going to move out of the city, live in what is typically known as the rural areas, and those rural areas will probably become urbanized now. And this is all made possible by work from home and all that. So I think that's going to be a trend that we're going to see in terms of location preference. The second trend is, I think, I want to highlight is the way people buy property. before the pandemic, how would you know about a property? Probably you got a leaflet from an agent that had a booth in a mall, right? But I think those days are gone. I think the way people now will try to look for property, buy property, and even view the property. I think it's going to be more and more digital. We've proven it in Aboitiz land that people are willing to buy property completely online, right? Because they've seen that it is so much more convenient when everything is done online, talking to the agent, having all the forms signed, transacting with the banks and all. If it's all done online without any paper, it's just so much more convenient. So I think that's another trend that we're going to see in terms of the way property is going to be purchased and transacted.
Thank you. Doris.
Hi, USEC. I have a question for USEC RR. By the way, congratulations for hosting a successful global tourism summit. Speaking of which, we have mostly covered holiday makers, travelers, sightseeing holiday makers. How about the return of conferences to the Philippines? Do you think, USEC, we are coming to that?
Actually, after the WTTC Global Summit, wherein we had at least 1,200 delegates, 600 of which are foreign delegates, almost 200 foreign media also came here. We were able to successfully stage a massive global event, which is a MICE event. And we were able to show to the world that we can actually do it. And in fact, sabi nga ni Sekta sa mga gatherings that we have already, in terms of, we have beaten like our Southeast Asian neighbors in terms of really hosting big MICE events. So we have become, in fact, quote unquote, a standard in terms of hosting massive MICE events in at this scale. So that is certainly one thing that we want to focus in. In fact, in other countries, they have already, if you look at the history of TPB, Charles, no, before it used to be a Philippine Convention Bureau, that it came to another being until it was focused on MICE, and it became to another being until it became Tourism Promotions Board, which is in charge for the marketing arm of the department and the country. No? But MICE has become just one department, is it correct, Charles, in the TPB? In fact, I think what we need right now, just like to any other, like for instance, Thailand, they just created a bureau which is really for MICE. I think that that should be our direction to really gain more traction to MICE events and big ones in the country. We should have maybe we should, that particular unit in TPB should evolve into a different bureau right now. Not just DOT, but also DTI, because they have that also side. Them will also be probably a bureau that will solely be focusing on engaging world partners for MICE events here in the country. That's something that we are looking into right now. We're in fact studying that because there's so much potentials and profitability in terms of MICE activities in the country. And we have experienced a great surge pre-pandemic, but we wanted to do even better and bigger, especially as compared to our neighboring countries also.
Okay, before we go to our closing part, I'd just like to ask one quick question, one answer only. What we've already talked about, what places you're going to go to as soon as you're able. For leisure, Doris is going to go to Puerto Galera. I'm going to go to Bohol. So we're going to ask you, where are you going for leisure the first chance you get? Yusek, where are you going?
I want to go to Siargao. I haven't been to Siargao. It's devastated by Typhoon Odette. I will do some volunteerism there when I go there. Sir Bob, sama tayo.
Okay.
Charles, where are you going?
I'm definitely going to Camiguin because one of my Asik Falls I hear is a really great. It feels like you're literally in Neverland from Peter Pan. It's a beautiful destination that I think everyone should visit.
Bob, where are you going?
I want to sit on top of the Banawe rice terraces.
Mm.
I always like peaceful and quiet places, so that's where I want to go.
David, where are you going?
Well, I kept on hearing Don Sol from Joel, right? And I've never been there, so I'll go to Don Sol.
Joel, what about you?
I like to go to Palawan and from Puerto to El Nido by road because the mountain range here is very nice, nice forest. David, you should go now because the season is about to end.
That's correct. This is the season, the perfect time to go.
Thank you, everybody. There's so much more we want to discuss. And now, with all of that, so many places we want to go to. But that's all the time we have for this Inquirer Project Rebound webinar. Before we end the program, let's hear a final message from our guests.
Let's start with Yusek RR, our keynote speaker.
I'll just be very brief.
Remarks.
Yeah, we just want to encourage people to travel, go out, and choose whichever destination. But more importantly, just be a responsible tourist for a sustainable future.
Thank you. Thank you, Seth.
Yes, David, would you like to?
Yeah. Don't spend everything on travels. Leave a little something for property.
Carl. Yeah, sorry.
Just to marry both messages, travel and find a new home in the provinces where you can start your slow living, everyday lifestyle and keep healthy, be vaccinated, and just make sure to, as mentioned by Yusek, be a responsible traveler.
Thank you, Charles. Bob? Bob.
Yes, I'd just like to congratulate you people, the ones behind this event, because events like this, I consider that events like this actually pay tribute to the thousands of MSMEs in the tourism industry and to the millions of employees who are now back at work. And they're now eager to push back our industry into pre-pandemic times because we want the tourism industry to be the lead industry in our country so that we will banner it in front of our ASEAN neighbors that the tourism industry in the Philippines is the best in the region. Thank you.
Thank you. Joel.
To echo what has been said, let's all get out there, enjoy nature, attraction and places, and let's be responsible. Let's be a responsible tourist. Thank you.
So that's all the time we have for this Inquire Project Rebound webinar. Once again, thank you so much to our speakers and panelists for sharing your valuable insights with us. We enjoyed this discussion very much.
We can't wait to get out there. Thank you so much to our viewers. We hope those of you who joined learned a thing or two and now want to go out there as well. Thank you for everyone for being part of the Inquirer Project Rebound webinar series presented by the Philippine Daily Inquirer.
We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy. Continue reading the Philippine Daily Inquirer for authoritative news and features. Once again, I am Doris Dimlao Abadilla, Inquirer Business Features Editor.
And I am Ruel De Vera of Inquirer Lifestyle. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Philippine Daily Inquirer would like to thank the following sponsors for making this live stream event possible. Aboitiz Land, innovating ways to lead more Filipinos home. Okada Manila, where great stories begin. Shell, powering progress together. We'd also like to thank Inquirer.net, Mega Mobile, and Inquirer Academy. We'd also like to acknowledge the organizations that have partnered with us. Thank you to
Bawat Pilipino may sariling kwento. Pero ano man ang pinagdaraanan, isa lang ang gustong patunguhan. Isang Pilipinas na umuusad at umuunlad. Kaya kumikilos tayo. Di lang para sa sarili, kundi para sa lahat. Sa mahigit 100 taon, kasama ng Pilipino ang Shell sa pagpapaunlad ng ating bansa. Para sa future scientists at engineers, so they can keep creating sustainable solutions that move us forward. Para sa mga nagsisimula ng negosyo, so they can keep moving forward with businesses that do good. Para sa ating mga komunidad, so they can keep making lives better for their families and for our society. Para kahit sa mga sulok ng Pilipinas, we can keep moving forward with good energy. Marami pa tayong magagawa. Kaya sama-sama tayo. Let's keep moving the Philippines forward.
Great things take time to grow. When it comes to your family's future, it doesn't mean you should wait. Grow your future today. Aboitisland's residential lots are situated in master plan developments that put the community's well-being first. Designed with abundant open spaces, amenities that nurture family and friendships, and access to modern-day comforts. There's no better place to take root in and grow. With prices at its lowest and deals at their best. There's no better time to seize the opportunity. The time to grow your family's future is today. It's time to grow with Aboitisland.